Welcome to Viva Yeg Latino. We celebrate the History Month in our program, and we are happy because we have a different guest in this special program. We talk about the Black History Month. This time, I would like to say thank you to the Minister Kaycee Madu, Minister of Skilled Trades and Profession for the province of Alberta, and we are excited to hear him again in our program. Minister, welcome.
Thank you so much, Giuseppe. I am very glad to be able to join you this afternoon for this broadcast.
Thank you so much, Minister. Can you talk a little about you and your process to arrive onto the position as Minister you have right now?
Well, thank you so much. Currently, I serve as the Deputy Premier, as well as the Minister of Skilled Trade and Professions. What that means is that I wear two hats. One, as the Deputy Premier for the province of Alberta, I get to help the Premier, govern the province. But also, in my role as the Minister of Skilled Trade and Professions, I am responsible for the ministry that oversees skilled trade and professions. So, focus on making sure that we have the right amount of the workforce, trade workforce, skills, apprenticeship programs that we need for our economy. We hear from employers and industry stakeholders all over Alberta that their number one challenge right now is the skilled workforce. And so the Premier made a commitment to have a focused attention on skilled workforce, on our apprenticeship program, skilled trade, to make sure that employers have the workforce and the appropriate rate of skill that they need to meet their economic needs.
Excellent. What does Black History Month mean to you?
So let me first and foremost wish all Albertans a very happy Black History Month celebration. The month of February is special in our province and in our country. We get to celebrate the contributions, the achievement, the talent that exists in the Black community, but also to recognize some of the difficulties, the ongoing struggle, and the obstacles with racism and systemic discrimination that Black people continue to face in our province, notwithstanding the progress that we have made. So, for me, it's always a thing of joy to help celebrate the contributions and place of Black Albertans to our magnificent province.
Excellent, Minister. Do you think, that's what you say, do you think our community in Alberta and Canada are doing enough to recognize the Black community?
Let me put it this way. The answer is yes. We have made tremendous progress in this province. We have built institutions that continue to knock down barriers to equal opportunity, to growth, and to the diversity that we need in this province and in this country. But there is still so much work to be done, because racism is still real. Systemic racism is still real until we get to a place where all of us, regardless of the color of our skin, the sound of our mother tongue, our ethnicity or religion, can achieve our full potential. We still have work to be done. So it's a work in progress, but I am optimistic about the future of our province.
Excellent. What message do you have for the community in this month?
I say to the community that Alberta is a land of opportunity. Look at where we come from the early Black pioneers. I am talking about people like John Ware, Violet King Henry, Eleanor Collins, that settled in communities such as Amber Valley, Junkin, Keystone, and in Brenton in the 1800 to early 1900. Think about the obstacles that they faced, the difficulties that they faced, but they never allowed those obstacles to define who they are. They never allowed those obstacles to knock them down. And anytime they were confronted with challenges and obstacles, they get past it. And that is why they set the pace. They cleared the way for people like myself to get here. It is now our responsibility to continue that work of building a much more better and equal place. So my message to the Black community, and indeed all Albertans, is very simple. Ours is a history that have continued to build an equal opportunity society for everyone, and that work must continue.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Deputy Premier Kaycee Madu, for this time to talk with Viva Yeg Latino and our community about this important month, the Black History Month. Thank you so much, Minister.
Thank you, Giuseppe, and my thanks to the Albertans of Latino heritage. I do want to thank you and them for their contributions to our province.
Thank you so much, Minister.
Viva Latino.
No dejes que la negatividad te gane hoy. Recuerda que lo positivo comienza con nosotros. Si te estás quejando, eso quiere decir que no estás liberando. Y si te estás liberando, entonces no te quejas de la vida. Solamente lo ves con el brillo de luz. Cha, cha.
Welcome. We continue with the interviews. What we say, Viva Yeg Latino celebrate Black History Month. Is the first time we have this special program. And our next guest is A.J. Louden. He is director for lead artist A.J. Louden to Louden Studio. Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hey, A.J., I would like to ask, can you talk a little about you and how it's born your passion for the arts?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I've been an artist since like a really young age. So, you know, some of my early memories are just staying at my grandma's house and just drawing on sheets and sheets of paper. You know, one of the gifts she gave me early on in life was just kind of accessing my creativity. And yeah, that was a big part of my early inspiration. Nowadays, I draw inspiration from a lot of different places. One of my biggest points of inspiration right now is from food. I really have a deep connection between the flavors in food and then the colors that I use in my paintings. So I love to try new dishes and new combinations of flavors. Those always inspire new combinations of colors for me in my paintings. So that's one deep point of inspiration too.
Excellent, excellent. When you start, what is your when you start, what is your inspiration? What kind of emotion? One from the people they view your art is a different emotion.
Yeah, so that really depends on the piece. Each piece is different for me, you know, so sometimes I'm trying to express something that's like really joyful and playful. Other times the idea is maybe a little bit more complicated. And one thing I love to do with my art is tell stories. So a lot of times a story is more interesting when there's kind of high points and low points too. So sometimes you'll see that in my art reflected. You'll see kind of like symbols of like really positive feelings and then maybe symbols that remind you of challenges or negative encounters too. So yeah, it really depends on the piece, both what I'm inspired by and what I hope for the viewer to take out of it.
Excellent. Last year, you participated in 2022 retrospective exhibition Black Every Day at the Gallery of Art in Alberta. Can you talk about your experience in this event?
Yeah, it was an interesting experience. That was one of the bigger galleries that I've worked with. And so as an artist, a lot of times my work is actually like self-directed and I don't often work with like galleries. So this is kind of a new experience for me. And what I mean by that is like my career so far has been supported by like working with businesses or doing like teaching or just really self-directed. And so the opportunity to work with the gallery and kind of see sort of inside that curatorial process, I guess, and also the process logistically of how to create something for that space as opposed to creating something in my studio was like a good learning experience. Mm-hmm. The piece that I created was like a site-specific piece. So I created something that was just meant for the one wall in that gallery. It was like really like driven by the context there. And it was a really personal piece too. And so that was like, that wasn't new for me, but it was a nice experience to get to execute something so personal in kind of like a place like that, I guess. So that was like interesting too.
Excellent, AJ. AJ, when you hear a Black History Month, what comes to your mind?
I would say a variety of things. You know, I think it's like an effort to sort of like do some readjusting or some rebalancing, maybe culturally here in Canada and North America too. Just because the stories about Black history that are really important to our collective and shared history have often been untold or purposely hidden. And so I think like Black History Month is important in that capacity. I also think sometimes too that anytime you have a spotlight on a culture, it can feel like we're really important in that moment and then sometimes forgotten for the rest of the year too. So like that's important to recognize. I hope that in my mind, the end goal of something like Black History Month is to make sure that we're like recognizing how important Black history is for our shared and collective history for the whole year. I mean, it's just always been a part of human history, right? And it's been an important part of human history. So I think just being able to draw strength from that, and you know, maybe there's a day in the future where Black History Month doesn't really make sense to hold anymore because everybody understands the value and shared importance of this collective history, right? So that would be some of my thoughts on it instantly, is that like maybe it's more of like a band-aid or a temporary solution that hopefully is leading to more holistic healing in the future.
AJ, anything else that you want to say to our community and this special program?
Yeah, just thanks to you for reaching out and for the interview. It's always really nice to have a platform and an opportunity for a voice. So I appreciate you providing that here.
Thank you so much. And well, thank you so much. We see you in the next interview. And I will say it's the first, but for sure not the last time we have AJ Louden with Viva Yeg Latino. Thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Viva Yeg Latino, for sure.
Thank you. Today we have the MLA David Shepherd. We are happy political member of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta for Edmonton City-Centre. Welcome.
Morning, Giuseppe. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being part of this special program. Could you talk a little about you and your process to arrive in political?
Sure. So born and raised here in Edmonton. Grew up I'm actually in Calgary today. So born and raised in Edmonton, but grew up on the north side, and went to Grand McEwen University to study music out of high school. It was something I discovered that I loved and learned to play by ear, and that really scratched my creative itch. So I studied piano performance at McEwen University. Went back later and did a second major in recording and live sound. Spent about a dozen years kicking around the Edmonton music scene, playing with different bands, working as a studio engineer. Eventually decided in professional communications. So finished that. I worked at various levels of government. Worked for the Canada Revenue Agency for a while on business inquiries. I worked for Alberta Health as a writer for a brief period, and then was working for the city of Edmonton on their LRT file when I got elected. Politics was just something that I would always kind of had an interest in as a kid. I kind of watched, starting around the 2008 or 9 or so, federal politics, and was sort of fascinated by the approach I saw the government at the time taking in sort of the way they communicated and worked with people. A bit of a toxic relationship with media, very aggressive. And then started watching provincial politics around 2012. What I just continually kept seeing is that people were frustrated, that they felt their voice wasn't being heard, and that they didn't have an opportunity to actually make any change, so they were disengaging. And I wanted to try to work to change that. I believed in a more progressive vision. I believed that it was possible for community to make a change, but I felt that folks needed politicians that would show that could be done. that could help bring some inspiration and some trust back. So that's why I decided I wanted to run. Opportunity came up in 2015. The Alberta NDP needed a candidate in Edmonton City-Centre. It was a long shot. I was running against an 18-year incumbent. I didn't think I had a strong chance of winning, but I thought I'd get a bit of experience and take another run in 2019. Well, the Orange Wave happened, and 7 years later, here I am.
Excellent, good. The relationship between art and politics, how you can do it?
Actually, there's huge connections between art and politics, right? I mean, when I studied at MacEwan, it was a jazz program. So a lot of it is learning about improvisation, being able to think very quickly on the fly, take ideas, develop them, run with them. And you're often doing that with a group of people. So it teaches you a lot about critical thinking. It teaches you a lot about creativity. It teaches you a lot about teamwork and collaboration, planning and strategy. And those are skills that I use every day in my political work. Being on the floor of the legislature, you're engaged in debate, you got to think pretty quick on your feet. You got to be able to work with a whole lot of other people to get good things done. And certainly looking for creative solutions to problems, I think, is a big part of the work too. So absolutely, I think there's a lot of synergy between art and politics.
Excellent, Emily. What does Black History Month mean to you?
Well, I grew up without much connection to the Black community. My father came here to Canada in 1967 from Trinidad. He had converted to Christianity when he was about 16 years old. And for him, the particular form of Christianity he converted to, he felt that meant he needed to give up the majority of his culture. So I didn't really have any connections with Black communities growing up here in Edmonton. I didn't know that many other Black people. And it's not really something that I had sort of claimed or felt as part of my own identity. But, after I was elected in 2015, that was when I discovered I was only the third Black person ever elected to the Alberta legislature. And that just kind of shocked me. And then I started getting invitations to a lot of events with African and Caribbean communities, talking with them, making those connections. And I saw how much it meant to them to see someone that looked like them in a position like mine. So that I made a commitment at that point that was going to be one of my focuses as an MLA, as well as representing my constituency. I was going to work on building those relationships with Black communities and trying to reconnect with some of my own heritage. And it's been an incredible privilege to have the opportunity to do that, to be embraced by so many communities, to make those connections, reclaim a bit of that heritage for myself. And along the way, learn a whole lot about over 120, 130 years of deep, diverse, rich Black history here in the province of Alberta.
What is the message do you have for the community in this special month?
What message do I have in this month?
Yeah, for the
well,
community.
I guess a message I would have is just one of encouragement. I read an article in CBC published back in December that newcomers from Africa are one of the fastest growing newcomer communities here in Alberta. So the Black population in Alberta is growing steadily, and there is more and more opportunity. And I'm seeing such wonderful work being done in the community by so many different organizations, official nonprofit organizations registered, all the way down just to community groups who are doing so much on so many fronts to help break down barriers, because there still are real challenges for Black and other racialized communities, within a lot of the systems, a lot of the program supports even that are provided by government. And we need to work together to continue to move government to address those, but also to work together as communities to support each other to overcome some of those barriers. But what I do see is there's a lot of community groups coming together. We see the Black Teachers Association of Alberta, the Black Therapists of Alberta, the Black Physicians Association. I see the Africa Center in Edmonton, the Calgary African Community Collective in Calgary, folks that are coming together, raising their voice, advocating together, and getting some great things done for our community. So my message to folks is I encourage them to get out, get engaged, especially in this this next provincial election coming up in May. There's a record number of Black candidates on the ballot this year, 6 to my knowledge at present. So I'm very, very excited to have that be the case, and hopefully see some more Black representatives at the legislature. But also, this is an opportunity for Black communities to ensure they are voting for candidates that are going to have the best interests of their communities in mind.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Minister MLA David Shepherd, for participating in this special program with us. Thank you for some message. And all the time we say it's the first, but for sure it's not the last time we visit us. And Viva Yeg Latino open the microphone. Anytime you want to come, we are very happy to be here.
Absolutely. I would love to join you again.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Have a great day.
We have a different guest in a special program. We talk about the Black History Month. And right now, the new guest is Jacques Mitakaro. And we say welcome to our guest. Welcome, Jacques.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe. It's always a pleasure. It's been a long time we didn't connect. So I'm so delighted to see you and to reconnect. You know, the pandemic, before the pandemic, we used to be in touch, but, you know, the pandemic has been there. It's so nice to reconnect with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being part of this special program in the Viva Yeg Latino. Can you talk a little about you and your process to arrive in Canada?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm Jean-Jacques Mitakaro. So many people knows me from, you know, as JJ, right? So yeah, I immigrated back in end of 2005 from Belgium when I was doing my PhD. So I'm originally from Burundi in Africa. So my dream actually was to be a university professor. That's why I left my country back at the beginning of 2003 for Belgium to do my PhD and then go back to teach at university where I was teaching actually as a teaching assistant. But then after 2 years after my master's, I applied as a skilled immigrant, and then I got accepted for, you know, selected by Quebec as a French speaking. And then I made a big decision to stop my PhD, which is one of the best decisions I made. Mm-hmm. So I immigrated to Quebec back in October. That was in September 2005. Stayed there 1 year, and then, you know, it didn't go as I expected, you know, and then I decided to move to Alberta for opportunities and also to practice my English. So because Quebec was very close to Europe, actually, French, even if you learn English, you can't practice it. And since the November 2006, established in Edmonton, a trusted advisor. I've been helping people start and grow for-profit businesses, non-profit, social enterprises, co-ops, and then I specialize in immigrant entrepreneurship as well, or business structures. I've been helping people from all backgrounds. I have passion for what I do, but I'm not only a trusted advisor, but I'm an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur. I own a JJ Consulting Translation Services. I own Weddings and Events by JJ. And I own also the Profit and Impact Builders Canada, Inc. I do so many different things. I'm a coach and mentor. I'm an EMC and event host. I'm a freelance translator and certified community interpreter. Mm-hmm. I'm also a wedding officiant, non-religious. So I wear different hats, actually. Ask me the hat I'm wearing when you see me.
That's why they. Jenja, how is the mode? So, why you choose Alberta? Why you say okay, Alberta and specific Edmonton?
That's a good question. I'm a risk taker, so I immigrated to Canada with high expectations, mm-hmm. And then when the 1 year I spent in Quebec, it's because my background is French. So, and then I noticed, even though they want us to speak French, as a French speaker, you don't have many opportunities. I had to go back to study. I remember going to the University of Quebec in Montreal, spend 3 months. You know, when you don't speak French, they teach you French for free. But when you want to learn English, you pay money and you don't even practice it. Okay. I still look at the certificate. I spent so much money, which I didn't have. And then they gave me a certificate in French. And I said, how can I prove that I learned English, even if the certificate is in French, right? So what decided me actually to relocate is, I'm an ambitious person, actually. I applied for a job as a bilingual person after the 3 months of English. And then I told them I was bilingual. They gave me, an interview over the phone. And then they started in French. they really liked me until they switched in English. They are still waiting for my answer. And then I told them I was bilingual, but really when they switched in English, I was even unable to pronounce one word. I say, man, it's a good time to relocate.
Okay.
Now, the choice of Alberta, I didn't know about Alberta. I searched. And then I didn't know anyone. I told my wife, let's pack and then go to Alberta. Let's leave our comfort zone and try life there, right? And then I definitely left my wife and my kids in Quebec, and I landed in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know people there. And then I spent 2 weeks there. And I said, why many community members at that time, they established in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, Edmonton is the capital. Why no one goes there? I took a bus. And then after, I remember actually a hotel at White Avenue when I stayed. I never went back to Calgary.
Wow.
And then I told my wife and they say, you park and then you join me here. So I won't come back there. Since then, things actually, I'm very well established. My boys are growing. They played basketball at University of Alberta. Things are moving forward.
Okay, it's a good moment. Black History Month is very important in USA, Canada, and different countries. But for you, what does Black History Month mean to you?
Yeah, to me, Black history is an opportunity actually to tell the story of those Black leaders who preceded us, right? At the end of the day, if you look at the way the world is actually, the history is said, it depends on who write the history, right? So they made a huge contribution to the Alberta and Canadian province territories and the Canada as an entire country. They made a huge contribution in terms of social and economic development as well. But many of them, in difficult situations. So we definitely want to acknowledge and make sure that the history is well told, right? So, and then in addition, it's also for us to recognize that, to me, it's also an opportunity to recognize that they were successful even in very difficult situations. It motivates me to say, if they were able to do it with so many barriers, it's definitely is much better now, but there are still so many barriers that people don't want to talk about, right? When I like to remind people, in terms of starting a business, I like to remind people there are three main things to become successful. It's through education, of course. So Black are educated. Many immigrant Black and non-immigrant Black are very educated, but then getting a good job is not actually granted at all, right? Mm-hmm. So education is key, employment is a key, and entrepreneurship. Those are key to success for immigrants, Black and non-Black. Now, if you have a good job and then you want to do business, you can definitely save and then build credit history and then save and apply for a loan. If you can't get a good job and well paid, it's not easy, right? Entrepreneurship is like a job. You need contracts. You need people to trust you. I remember actually when the federal government funding for Black entrepreneurs actually was initiated. So it targeted non-profit Black-led organizations. Mm-hmm. In Alberta, entire Alberta, there was almost one Black-led. All those organizations were actually started for that grant. It didn't make any sense. If you look at the ecosystem, to see a successful Black entrepreneur, it's not easy, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, it's not only to acknowledge the contribution, also to tell the story of the Black leaders who fighted actually for where we are right now, but also to bring up those barriers. But also to remind Black that ourselves, we can't get anywhere. We need to build, strategic relationships with non-Black. I like to see non-Black, including white, to be there, because they are the ones who give a job. When you start a business, you're not different from someone who is looking for a job, right? You definitely need someone to trust you to give you a contract, to, even as a subcontractor, but you do the job, but the contractor is between you and then the company. They get well paid and then you do the job, but you get paid late. The idea is just to move from the subcontractor to the contractor's position. You need someone who trusts you, right? Yeah, just to to summarize, it's definitely an opportunity for us to recognize the knowledge, the contribution, achievements of the Black leaders who came before us, but also to let people know that there are still barriers out there.
Do you think our community in Alberta and Canada are doing enough to recognize the Black community?
No, I think we definitely have, the allies, people. I think I'm definitely very positive about that, right? So there's no perfect actually society or whatever. However, now everywhere, even yourself, you're not a Black, but you wanted to, to bring up this and then talk to us. That's definitely, it's definitely positive. I think everywhere Black, are still, are being acknowledged. And then I think the opportunities are coming as well.
Okay, excellent. Jacques, the time is flying, and all the time we say our guests, for sure it's the first, but not the last time we are here in Viva Yeg Latino. What is the message do you have for the community in this special month?
Do you mean to a Black community?
In general.
Definitely, the community. Yeah, definitely. Generally, so let me start with the Black actually. So I always, let's definitely make contribution. The ball is in our camp, right? Let's do our part and then make positive contribution to Alberta and to Canada's economy, all aspects of life, right? And let's build relationships, strategic alliances, because we can't do it alone. And then to the community, let's do things actually build a positive world. I know there are so many negative things happening here and there, but let's focus on the most important thing, to make the world we live in a better place. And we can definitely do it. That's my message.
Well, thank you so much, JJ, for being part of Viva Yeg Latino.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe. It's always a great opportunity to, great pleasure to get to meet with you. And let's stay in touch.
Yeah, we keep in touch. Thank you so much. And we go to the next episode.
Perfect. You take care.
Take care.
Bye now.